Goat Simulator. As I play Goat Simulator, I'm going to be talking about the poem Mother Any Distance, just as a bit of extra revision for you. The poem Mother Any Distance is written by Simon Armitage, and it's an autobiographical poem, meaning it's written about the poet's real life. It comes from a book called The Book of Matches, which is a series of poems, most of which revolve around Simon Armitage's own experiences and his own reflections about his own personal experiences. So this should be a good one to compare to poems like Before You Are Mine, or Follower, or any of the other poems that focus on a parent-child relationship, while also delving into the poet's actual life and relationship with their parents. I'll read the poem just as my little goat is wobbling over to my waypoint marker. Mother, any distance greater than a single span requires a second pair of hands. You come to help me measure windows, pelmets, doors, the acres of the walls, the prairies of the floors. You at the zero end, me with the spool of tape, recording length, reporting meters, centimeters back to base. Then leaving up the stairs, the line still feeding out, unreeling years between us. Anchor. Kite. I spacewalk through the empty bedrooms, climb the ladder to the loft to breaking point where something has to give. 2 floors below, your fingertips still pinch the last 1/100th of an inch. I reach towards a hatch that opens on an endless sky to fall or fly. And the first thing that occurs to me is that this would be a good poem to compare with Follower or Before You Were Mine, because all 3 of those poems, in fact, deal with what's called a universal experience, a feeling that most people in their lives will go through at some point. In this poem, the universal experience is the combination, the conflict between wanting to stay in the safety of your parents' home or relationship, but also wanting a greater sense of independence. Apologies for the lack of gameplay, but my cat has jumped on top of me. In Follower, the universal experience that's described is the growing realization that your parents, although you once looked up to them and thought that they were perhaps a superhero type of figure who could do anything, that as they grow older, they develop limitations and eventually become weaker and will require more help. And the universal experience in Before You Were Mine is focused on the idea that we can never truly know our parents, that the type of person they were before we were born won't be the same as what they were after we were born. Okay, and these we call them universal because they're fairly common among people all over the world, no matter what your culture, race, religion. These are all things that might happen to you in your relationship with your parents or carers, whoever your father, mother figure is in your life. Another good poem to compare it to, although the link is slightly harder to find, would be the poem Walking Away. There are similar ideas of a growing distance between parents and children, and there's even key similarities in the language analysis, such as the use of the space metaphors. I'm getting quite busy looking at this. Where are these people? Come on now. Oh, I might just wait in the middle one. Yay! So that's another event completed, so I should unlock a cosmetic item. Let's just hit him. Oh, I got a lovely hat. Anyway, those would be the first 3 poems I would think to compare this one with. There are, of course, other poems you could use, but those are just the 3 that I think naturally lend themselves to an analysis of this poem. Looking at the structure then, it's divided into 3 stanzas. The first 2 stanzas are quatrains, meaning stanzas of 4 lines, and the last stanza then runs on slightly, going into, in this copy of the book anyway, a stanza of 7 lines. There's nothing particularly to say about that, except that possibly this might represent the rigid structure that the parent would have given to the child, the idea that he would have to follow the rules and do whatever his mother said, that common idea of when you live under my roof you follow my rules, and so he's had quite a strict, rigid structure, like the 4-line quatrains being used. And then when he moves out and gains his independence in the final stanza, he's allowed more freedom and more flexibility, and that's why the stanza length then becomes altered. Okay, so that would be the structural analysis, that kind of looking at the length of the stanzas and what they could symbolize, what they could represent. Looking at the language then, The poem begins with a direct address of mother. So this poem is written as though the poet, Simon Armitage, is speaking directly to his mum, indicating a sense of closeness that he feels comfortable talking to her about his deeper emotions and deeper thoughts. It then moves into this idea that any distance greater than a single span requires a second pair of hands. Now we can analyse the overall idea here, that he thinks moving away any type of distance would need her help. He's still quite reliant on his mum. He still feels as though he needs her help. And we can then zoom in on the use of that verb require to back this point up. The idea that require is a verb that indicates you feel you need that particular thing. Oh, collectible. Amazing. And then hopefully I'll be able to get out of this hole. It then moves into this metaphor of the distance he's moving across, feeling like a large amount of land. It uses the metaphor of the acres of the walls and the prairies of the floor. Acres and prairies both being words in the lexical field of distance to do with large areas. So he's describing it as though he feels as though he's moving very, very far away, perhaps feeling nervous about this, or possibly even excited, as if he's going on a long adventure or journey. And again, a lot of these poems involve what we call ambiguous meanings, meaning you can read it one or two ways. Okay. After that, we then get into one of the key images of the poem, this idea of a physical connection between him and his mum, with them throughout the poem being described as being connected by a tape measure, by a kite string, by an anchor length, and all of these could symbolise the physical connection between a mother and a child that exists at birth, the umbilical cord, something that physically connects them, and shows the child's reliance on the mother at the beginning, because the umbilical cord would be literally what's used to feed you. So you at the zero end, and we should know that the zero end represents the start of his life when he's literally aged 0, bringing to mind that umbilical cord idea and reminding us that his life started from his mum. Me with the spool of tape, recording length reporting meters, centimeters back to base, and here we could analyse the use of this metaphor base. The base in this metaphor is the mother, and a base meaning a safe place or a place you have begun from. So this could represent the mother as representing a feeling of safety and security for the child. And then I'll go get my new collectible item. Oh, no, I will fall in a hole and ragdoll. Come on. Come on, little goatsy. There we go. So anyway, going back to this very key metaphor that I didn't get distracted from, of you at the zero end, me with the spool of tape recording, we were talking about the meaning of the base. So the mother represents the base, a place of safety, a place that the child can always return to, and where he's been protected, except now that he's moving out, his safe place will have to be his new home, and he will lose the security that his mother once provided him. Okay, this is a very interesting church, I have to say. Do we think there's going to be a collectible up in here somewhere? Maybe. Can't see one over there though. Or over there. Okay. And it says that the line is still feeding out unreeling years between us. Now, as we know, a tape measure will have numbers on it, and those numbers in this case, as the tape measure is getting longer and longer and longer, represent the years between the mother and the child. As we grow older, we should move away from our parents and become more independent, and that's what these this tape measure image is representing. As the line gets longer and longer, the mother is both physically moving away from him, but also metaphorically he's moving away from her, in that he's growing up, becoming independent, and starting to make his own rules, no longer needing her support and guidance as much. We then have an interesting use of caesura, that's spelled C-A-E-S-U-R-A, in this next, at the end of stanza 2, where it says anchor, full stop, kite, full stop. And this is now referring to the mother and son being items connected by some type of physical line. So I can't find the waypoint I'm looking for, so I'm just going to move on to a new one so I can continue focusing talking about poetry. So over we go over here. So in the first metaphor here, anchor, The mother is being symbolized by an anchor, which as we know is used, which as we know is used to keep ships in place as a form of safety and protection, to stop them from drifting or to stop them from crashing. Now the mother being used in this way to describe her in a similar way to an anchor suggests that that's what her role has been for the son. She's stopped him from drifting away and getting into danger. There's also a secondary idea here of her holding him in place though and holding him back, because as we also know, when you put an anchor down on a ship, you're then unable to move, and you're held back in a way. Feel a bit bad for just attacking that grandmother, but she was asking for it. We can all agree on that. So the mother as the metaphorical anchor is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's protecting the son, keeping him safe from harm, but it's also restricting him and stopping him from achieving his full potential and from moving on. A similar idea is explored in that secondary metaphor of kite, another item that's held on a string or a connecting line to something on the ground, and in this case the son is being represented by the kite, in that he wants to fly away and be free to achieve his potential, but his mother is kind of like the person on the ground holding the kite string, keeping him safe again, stopping him from getting lost, but also meaning that he's unable to move and be truly free. I have no idea what's happening in this level, by the way. The use of punctuation here, not her again. The caesura is equally as important because the full stops act as a separating force, dividing the anchor from the kite, suggesting that the son and the mother are being divided, are being separated in some way by him moving out and moving on with his life. Yes, he's getting his independence, but he's also losing that close connection. Oh, please get up, goat. He's losing that close connection with his mum that he once had. And at the end of the poem, when it talks about falling or flying, we can link that back to this image of a kite flying away in the sky, suggesting that perhaps that link between him and his mother has now been severed, and he's more free to go off on his own, with that added risk of danger and uncertainty. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm now going to go on to the third stanza. So the third stanza opens with the metaphor of spacewalking through empty rooms. Now there's a lot of analysis here we could do. We could look at the metaphor of spacewalk, indicating that he feels as though he's off on an adventure, like he's in space, which gives connotations of excitement, yes, but also loneliness. Astronauts in space are some of the literally furthest away people from everybody else on Earth, and that might be how he feels as he moves out of his house, this idea that he is doing something adventurous and brave, but also that he's isolated and alone, away from his mother and no longer with other people or her as much. Okay. Oh, lovely. Now I've got a granny outfit that I can fire guns with. Perfect. Before we go, let's just go see if there's any more grannies we can beat up in our poetry analysis. We can also look at this idea of a sense of kind of nervousness and stress. Trophy. In the following adjective, empty. So when it says I spacewalk through the empty bedrooms, there might be a sense here that he's discovering a new land or somewhere that nobody's been before, perhaps a place that's a bit fearful because it's empty and unknown to him. That can link to the idea of him being in space when he's moving into his new house. Sorry if this is a bit jumbled, but it's really hard to focus on poetry analysis while murdering grannies. We've all been there. I spacewalk through the empty bedrooms, climb the ladder to the loft, and he's physically getting higher and higher in the house as he's going, which means that he's getting physically further and further away from his mum, because she's still on the bottom floor holding on to this tape measure. And remember, the physical distance in this poem always represents the emotional distance between him and his mum. It then says that he's moving to breaking point. Now this is another metaphor. When we say something has reached breaking point, we mean that something drastic is about to happen that has to change. Okay? For instance, when you are all messing about in a lesson a little bit too much, I could be said to be reaching my breaking point, meaning I'm about to lose my temper and start parking people for throwing things and not doing enough work. You see, that's the metaphor of a break. Ooh, another goat. Hello. Lovely. Goat friend. What's this goat's name? Goat. Okay. Well, we'll put this goat over here with some friendly people and a giant piece of corn. Which I can't eat, but I can headbutt. Perfect. The breaking point is a metaphor for that something has to change in their relationship. In order for him to become independent, truly move out, and start his adult life, he can't be this reliant on his mother, and they cannot remain as close as they currently are, with her giving him the same level of support. And it even says that in the next line, where something has to give. Something will have to change, something will need to disappear, be altered, drastically changed so that it's no longer recognizable, and in this case it's the relationship he has with his mum. Okay. Oh, this one's got a name, sorry Darla. It then focuses back to the mother, 2 floors below, and it says that her fingertips still pinch. Now there's a hobbit house. There's a couple of points of analysis we could do here. Okay. The first one is this use of fingertips, suggesting that she's holding on with the very, very tips of her fingers. She's holding on in a type of desperation. She's almost let go, but she hasn't quite given up yet on the idea of them remaining close. The verb pinch also suggests this. Suggests that she's holding on very, very tightly. She's reluctant to let him go and make his own decisions because, like any mother would, she's worried about danger, about him not succeeding, about him being nervous, all of these different things. I think I found a hobbit. Oh, Bilbo Saggins, which is a very clear reference to Bilbo Baggins, the protagonist of the Hobbit book. Let's go. Definitely not trash his house. Although that is a key point in the Hobbit book. Where the dwarves invade. I guess I'm going to be the dwarves? Ooh, I got the ring. So the ring must be taken. Do I literally just have to put the ring in here? Or do I have to go? Oh, okay, I am setting his house on fire. Let's leave. Let's stop, drop, and roll. Oh, I set the door on fire. Okay, I am just going to leave. I'm burning this guy's house down. I've become very distracted from our poetry analysis. Let's regroup, lick this person. Yep. And then refocus on poetry. So, I was talking about the metaphor of the mother hanging on to the tape measure with the very tips of her fingers pinching, suggesting her desperation to keep her son close. We then have this final image of the son standing in the loft and opening the hatch, which will allow him to see outside into the sky. And for this one, we end on the key metaphor that he's reaching upwards, suggesting he wants to leave, he wants to achieve on his own. He doesn't want to be reliant on his mum all of the time. And this idea that he reaches towards a hatch that opens on an endless sky to fall or fly. This idea of falling or flying can also be linked to the idea of a baby bird leaving the nest for the first time. And once he leaves the nest, metaphorically speaking, he'll either do really, really well, in which case it could be said that he is flying, or he will not succeed and do quite badly, and he will fall. I really thought that would be Mount Inferno, but I guess not. Okay, I have to leave this guy's house. Please don't get set on fire, person. Okay. We can also look at the use of the adjective endless here in the metaphor of the endless sky, talking perhaps about his potential and how he can do anything he wants. The sky is the limit is a common metaphor we use when what we really mean to say is you can achieve anything if you try and if you want to. So the use of that adjective endless is suggesting that his potential, now that he has become independent and is working on his own, he's moving out and gaining that freedom, that potential might also be endless as well. That is the full poem. That's all of it. If you're thinking about key quotes to learn from this poem, I would suggest Anchor Kite with the use of caesura as the first quote to learn. Whee! Right. The second quote I would look at would be the metaphor and combined adjective analysis of "I spacewalk through the empty rooms," talking about the idea of independence, but also adventure and fear as well. Then, as a third quote, I would recommend you learning that final line opens on an endless sky to fall or fly, talking about the poet's worries, his desire for independence, combined with his worry about not being successful and the fear of working on his own without the safety support of his mother. There are many other quotes that fit in nicely with these points. For instance, the word base could be analysed on its own, a one-word quotation to learn, where you talk about the mother being a place of safety. That could be good to link to that final metaphor of him failing without her, because she gives him that sense of security and protection that a base would give. Also, of course, and you can link this to the analysis of Anchor Kite, the tape measure metaphor. That one is quite difficult to pick out a small quote because it's most of stanza 2 that describes the tape measure metaphor. And as always with this quote, linking it back to that idea of the umbilical cord, the key connection between mother and baby at the beginning of their life. Okay, and I do think that's it for the tree hugger for the analysis of this poem. If you have any questions or follow-up about this poem, please do. I'm in the right place. I found it, and I found a cosmetic item. Right, let's try not to get set on fire here. Ooh, isn't okay. Well, we'll destroy the ring, get this item. Nice. Oh, I got the Eye of Sauron. Okay, I don't. Oh, I've activated the ring. Oh, beautiful. And we've got, who's this person? Oh, should we? I don't know, it seems kind of mean, but yeah, but I'm gonna do a run-up for this one. Oh, wrong button. Ready, boom! Oh, and his name is Caskin Pit, like cast in the pit. Whee! Oh. I guess this is a Harry Potter reference to the platform that exists in Harry's mind when he almost dies. Well, the end. Oh, and I get to dress as Gandalf now. And Dilbo says thanks, I didn't burn down his house. An amazing end to my journey.